Hey everyone, welcome to the Sylvie Rachelle show. And today we have a lovely guest here with us. Her name is Molina Jeune Pierre, and she will basically tell us a little bit about herself, who she is, and where she's from.
Hello, hi everyone. Sylvie says, my name is Molina Jeune Pierre. I hail from the beautiful islands of Abaco, Bahamas, but I'm
Mhm.
currently residing in South Florida. I am a woman of God first, the mother of
Amen.
three. I am a wife, been married for 10 years, bless the Lord. And I am now a new author. Praise God
Wow,
for that.
congratulations. Amen.
Thank you.
We're so
Thank
glad
you.
to hear that. So, being that you said you are a new author, we're going to talk about that. We're going to get into that. But we want to hear about your story of salvation. How did you come to Christ? You did mention that you are a woman of God. How did this happen?
Yeah. Well, first, it really started at a very, very young age. I gave my heart to God at the tender age of 8 years old. Um, you know, and it was a tumultuous time in my life as
Wow.
well at such a young age. Growing up in a family that not only was experiencing poverty, there was a lot of domestic violence due to alcoholism, which is what my father suffered from. And
Mm,
so there was always, a lot of ruckus in my home. There was, no peace. And so, so you have poverty on one hand, and then you have, just violence and noise, no peace. And it's a house with five children, and a mother who's working hard trying to keep it all together, and a father who's already, kind of um, giving it, just giving it all, given up on life and succumb to the vices of alcoholism,
wow.
and just knowing and hearing about God as a child, going to vacation Bible school, going to church, going to Sunday school, and hearing about this great God that loves everyone, that cares for everyone, and, just not making that connection between, okay, where is this God? you know, and to being able to finally realize, someone took the time to tell me this God, he doesn't just exist, at church or in the Bible. This is not an old story that is something of the past. You have access to this Jesus
Mm,
right now.
amen.
And I took a leap of faith, and I was like, I needed this God. I needed this loving God that made such great sacrifice, and I wondered, what would he have done for me? What could he have done for me as a little girl? Like, how could he help my family? How could, if he come into my life, I know something great is gonna happen. And so,
Amen.
like I said, at the tender age of 8 years old, someone took the time to tell me that Jesus could come into my heart and that he could be mine too. I could experience him and he could come into my chaos, the chaos that I was living. And I accepted him, and I found hope. I found light and just love and joy. And, even as I continued to grow up, I saw how God's hand was really in my life. And the crazy thing was, my situation didn't change, my economic
Mhm.
status didn't change. My dad unfortunately succumbed to alcoholism just about 7-8 years ago. He passed away,
I'm so
and
sorry to
he
hear that.
drank, up until I was already an adult. He was still drinking. He still was going through. So what happened was, God changed my perspective on life and how I saw myself, and he gave me, hope despite what was going on around me. He gave me hope, and like that promise on a future, because he knew the plans he had for me. And
No,
now that
okay.
little girl is finally stepping into that space,
Wow,
you know. Yeah.
that is an amazing story. And I like one thing two things that you said. First, you said that someone took the time to witness you. And I
Yeah.
hope our viewers and listeners understand the power of telling
Yeah.
someone about Jesus and letting them know that
Yeah.
Jesus is real and that he really is able to help us in every situation,
Yeah.
that we go through. And another thing you said that God changed your perspective, and all that
Hmm.
you went through as far as your father
Yeah.
passing away. And I'm sorry to hear that, but your father passing away, really, God used that in a sense to help you to see things in
Hmm.
a different light. So that's a very beautiful story. And
Thank
wow,
you.
may
Yeah.
God continue to bless you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. So I heard about your new book, Daydreaming
Mhm.
on Unpaved Streets. So can you
Yeah.
tell us about this book?
Daydreaming on unpaved streets is really, number one, a testament to, what consistency can
Mm,
do,
wow.
because I struggled with inconsistency my whole life, and starting and stopping, quitting, and all these different things. But the moment I, really surrendered to God, because it was a process, I surrendered to God, and He helped me every step of the way. And He helped me to prove, number one, that the devil
Mm,
is a liar. I am not inconsistent. I'm not a quitter,
amen.
you know. And then, and He proved that what He always said that was in me could actually come out. I always had prophecies spoken over my life about that I will write books and all of that. And I want to believe that this book was the hardest one, and I want to believe that all the other ones that will come will be much easier and much better, and I would have had my flow. But the book did take me 2 years to write. And Daydreaming on Unpaved Streets, the title itself is so heavy in it's
Mm,
profound in so many ways, figuratively. I mean, literally, when you're speaking, when you think of daydreaming, you're thinking about, someone who's awake, but really, kind of asleep and thinking of something else.
sure.
That was one of the things that I used to do as a child, growing
Mm,
up, like I said, in poverty, in that household that I was in. I had to create some sort of mechanism to cope and to deal with what was going on. And so I used to daydream a lot. I just used to sit down, and I would block out everything that was going on. I had a dog. The dog name was Susie, and I used to sit with Susie, and I would just be thinking about a world away from where I was. I was thinking about, some of the places that I have visited now, as an
wow.
adult. I used to visualize those things, and stuff I saw on TV, things um, I read about in books, because that was the type of person I was, very visual. And so I could sit down for hours just thinking
Mm,
about what I wanted to be, and, where I wanted to be, and because I knew where I lived, it was not the only place that existed. There was more, you know. And then on Unpaved Streets, really, literally, it talks about the area that I lived. They're called the Pigeon Peas. It's um an immigrant village in the Bahamas. So when you think of the Bahamas, you think of paradise, you think of, beautiful sand and beaches and all that good stuff. But
yes.
every place
Vacation.
have their stuff that they would rather stay hidden. And I grew up in one of those places that
Wow.
was, hidden, because, it was, not really built to any sort of standard, a lot of little houses. They call it a shanty town, a lot of little houses, and a large immigrant population of mainly Haitians. So, it was like a little village, but a lot was going on. And I spoke very in a lot of detail about it in the book itself, just to kind of give people
Wow.
a picture of where I came from and what it was like. And there is a lot of like political stuff attached to that area, the pigeon piece, the mud, and Haitians, Bahamians, a lot of stuff. But I kind of stayed away from that. I just wanted to paint the picture from my point of view, as someone who lived there, who experienced it, and really as a child who lived there and experienced it. Sometimes when you're a child, and I always thank God for the innocence of childhood, because it's like you don't know you're poor until somebody tells you.
True.
You don't know you're in a struggle until somebody tells you or whatever. So I just wrote it for what it was, and how I saw it. And so the unpaved streets was that the roads was rocky. They weren't paved. If they got paved, after a rainy day, it got right back rocky, lots of
Wow.
potholes and everything. And then on the metaphoric side of it, unpaved streets, it's like you're walking a path that no one else had, especially if you were a dreamer like me. And a lot of kids from those type of backgrounds, they um they could relate to this. You're dreaming with nobody else in your family, or your ancestors or people older than you are in your community. You're dreaming to do things that no one else has ever done before.
Hmm.
You're dreaming to go places, you want to go to college, you want to play ball, you want to be an author, and you really don't have anyone to kind of emulate. So you're literally walking a street that no one has walked before. So that's why the road is unpaved. That's why it's an unpaved street. And that was really my story. There were people around, but my immediate family, to say that's a role model, no. Even within the community, there wasn't like it was a handful of people you could say, let me look up to you. And even then, not many people look back at the younger generation to say, I want to invest in your life and I want to show you how to walk this path, because this is a rocky road. No one kind of warned you. So for me, I had to basically go through that myself and walk through that road on my own. And and I kept going. I fell a lot, I stumble a lot along the way, but I do believe that by me staying on my path and just me walking through, it made the road smoother for somebody else. So that's really one of the messages of that book. You have to keep walking, not just for yourself, but for the generation behind you. Wow. Because you staying on your path is making the road a better place for somebody else, making that journey better for someone else. So like I said, it's a real compact title, that's just the first part. And of course the subtitle, Facing Storms on the Path of Purpose. Again, they're all tied together. So while you're on that rocky road, you go through storms. I speak of a natural storm that I experienced, that brought me to Fort Lauderdale, which is Hurricane Dorian, that I was in with my children, with my husband. And then of course I speak on the spiritual storms that we face on a daily. They're the stuff that we know about storms. We know that they're coming. This is life. Life is not some smooth sailing sunny day every day. True. You get hit with stuff, even if it was predictable, even if it was something that you saw coming. Sometimes you don't know how hard it's going to hit you, and you don't know what the aftermath is going to be like. So where are you anchored? Mm-hmm. Where's your shelter? Who are you anchored in? And so, I talk about the choices that we have. What do we choose to focus on in life as we go through the storms, as we're walking through these unpaved roads? What do you do? What is your choice? What choice do you make? Yeah.
Beautiful. That is a lot. And
it is
amazing. And one thing I like that you said is you said that you kept dreaming. You would dream about places you would love to go to, places and books. And I truly believe that's what kept you. And that's what held you to the point where you kept those dreams alive. And God, because you trusted in the Lord, He manifested those things into reality. Absolutely. So that is amazing right there. And I noticed you talked about a lot of obstacles that you face. And one of the things that I do like to incorporate in the show is to ask our guests, like, okay, what type of obstacles have you faced and how have you overcome, those obstacles? So with all that being said, I want to know if there are any particular obstacles, obstacles that, where I know how you said that there's some storms that you face that are really tough, really hard, storms that come to really break your back in a sense.
Mhm.
So what type of obstacles that have been pretty much so overwhelming that God has allowed you to overcome?
Yeah. I can speak definitely to a natural storm, which was Hurricane Dorian,
Mm-hmm.
and what it brought with it, a lot of grief. Because if you could remember, that storm, was the biggest one to hit the Atlantic Ocean,
Yeah, I remember.
point blank period in history. Um, but what else happened too, we lost a lot of people, you know um, for the first time. So many people died. People you saw on Saturday, that Sunday they were
Mm,
gone.
Jesus.
And then losing everything and not being able to go back to it. And for me, the spiritual side of it was actually moving forward. That's where I
Mm,
I I
wow.
struggled a lot with moving forward. And there was a period where God wanted to process me, um, between moving us from the Bahamas to South Florida. He brought us to a place, and I speak about it in the book as well. He brought us to a place, um, where he now wanted to where I was vulnerable. I was open, I was grief ridden, and there was uncertainty all around, because you could imagine I was 5, 6 months pregnant at the time. I have two other children, school age kids, and then of course my husband, and we're here with nothing. And
Wow.
of course, there's an outpouring of blessings, people coming in and everything. And there's still this darkness kind of looming over you, like, what do we do though, Lord? What do we do? And I think that the time that I spent to allow the Lord to unearth some things in my heart, He really worked with me. He allowed me to heal a lot of the childhood trauma, because I still was walking with that stuff. I was still walking with, the pain, from my father, the pain from being hurt by others
Mm,
along the way.
Jesus.
I was still walking with those things, and then the storm happened, and now I'm forced to sit down with those things for like months. I'm forced to
That's a
sit
lot.
down because God was like, okay, you want to move forward? I brought you here. I saved your life. You want to move forward, but we have to work with the issues. So I was in this place where I was like a cocoon. You think of a butterfly, you think of metamorphosis. The
Yes.
cocoon, is it's dark inside there because everything is wrapped up, but great change is going on in there. A caterpillar is transforming to a butterfly. So body parts that were once there, that this caterpillar was used to, he had a bunch of tiny legs and all sorts of stuff. All of that
Mm,
is changing. And I feel like that's what it was. So that it was a stripping, and it was painful. It was very painful. I had to be forced with, facing who I was, and stop carrying that weight of because in the back of my mind, I still saw myself as a poor little girl without
wow.
realizing it. Despite everything I'd accomplished, I still saw myself as a poor little girl. And God wanted her to, hey, it's time to grow up. It's time to let her go. And I think this book really was that for me. Tell her story. If it's bothering you so much, talk about her. You don't even mention the teenage, don't go all that. Talk about her pain. What broke her? What was that moment? And God brought me to the moment that I that broke my heart. And I had to relive it and write it down, because he saved me from that. He saved me. It was like God, he was saying, I was there with you then, and I'm here with you now. So,
Wow.
I need you to trust me. And that's what it was for me. Just relearning to trust God once again. It's amazing. We could serve God our whole life. We could worship him. We could love on
Right.
him, and he could
Yes.
use us. And we still don't fully trust him with some things. Did we feel that he let us down when certain things happen? you know and so that's what it was for me. And I feel like it, and not to say that everything was smooth sailing after going through that, but it really helped to open a next level with when it comes to walking with God and trusting him with life, with your life. with my life personally. It opened up that next level. So I faced the pain of my childhood trauma. I faced that in a quiet place because God brought me to that space to do that. And so what I thought was grief for one thing was actually grief from something way back, way
Like
back.
that sometimes.
And he brought it all together. He brought it all together. So I love that. I love that God knows. He knows the end. He knew I would get there. He knew
Yep,
I
he
would get
always knows. He always knows. He just has a weird way of bringing us there.
there.
So,
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
story is amazing, and I truly believe it's going to touch, so many lives, so many people that have possibly faced a storm such as
Mm-hmm.
yours. And I
Mm-hmm.
like one thing that you said, that although yes, you wanted to move on, you wanted to move forward, but God, being that He is God, wanted to make sure that you dealt with some things of the past in
Yeah.
order to actually move on and move forward. So
Mm-hmm.
that was very key for me. That
Yeah.
sometimes we have to face what's the storm inside of us. We have to
Yeah.
face what's on the inside of us. Sit
Yeah.
down, take the time to deal with it, and process
Yeah.
it so that we can move forward. So, with all that being said, do you have
Yeah.
any last words of encouragement that you would like to leave our viewers and listeners?
Yes, absolutely. I just want to, let my viewers know that, you have a choice. And, even though sometimes life may make you feel as if the decisions that you're making, you have to make them, you don't necessarily have to. There's a part I actually begin the book with that message. I start off very early in the book with that message of the power of your choice, and how whatever you choose,
Mhm.
which is, you can choose to trust God, or you can choose to let whatever it is that is going on in your life control you. There is a story even in the book. I telling y'all everything in the book, but I still can't believe. I mean, I wrote it, but they're so profound. I was walking through out of the pigeon peas where I grew up one day, and I saw this Haitian lady. She was about to give birth, and I don't know, Sylvie, if you've ever seen this before. Um,
Wow.
this lady, she was in labor. She was about to have a baby, and they were trying to get her to the car. And she stooped down and she picked up two heavy rocks, like one in each hand. And then she got back up as they continued. And so these heavy rocks were in her hand and she was trying to balance them. Right. And I just stood there because what happened, I remembered my mom telling me she did something similar when she was in labor with my sister, the child who she had after she had me. So she had to carry these big rocks, and she had to walk to the clinic before she gave birth. And so she said while she was walking to the clinic, she felt that she was about to have the baby, but she lifted up the rocks. And so she was able to make it. Now, I'm not sure if she knew why the rocks, maybe that's some sort of tradition, maybe that's something that they do. But from my understanding, I realized that she picked up the rocks because it allowed her to shift her focus off of the travailing pain that she was experiencing, in order for her to get to the clinic, in order
Wow.
for her to deliver this gift, this baby. You understand? And so my message to you is, or to my viewers, is to pray. I pray that you would find weighty options to help you through a travailing time, because you don't want to give birth where in a space that you don't, that is not conducive. You
Sure.
understand? Like, it's not the right environment. How crazy it would be to give birth to a baby on the street. You understand? And so sometimes that's life. You're going through the struggles, and things are just happening, and you just want to give in, you want to throw in the towel. But I'm telling you, God is a weighty option. If you hold on to him, he will see you through to your destination. He will get you
Amen.
to where you need to be. So that is my word today. Pick up
Yes.
God. He is weighty. He is strong enough, and he will help you to endure in your season of trial, in your season of storms, in your season of travailing. He will see you through it.
Amen. I love that analogy. I
Thank
love it.
you.
So I hope everybody listen and tune in to
Yeah.
this. And as well, Molina, we want to know, where can we get your books?
Well, yes, it is on Amazon. Just Google. I'm Googleable, so just Google it, or just put in "Daydreaming on Unpaved Streets" on Amazon, and you can find it. Or you could go to my website, www.molinajpierre.org, and you can click the link there and it'll take you to Amazon. So that might be easier than trying to type in the name. So definitely my website, molinajpierre.org, is where you will be able to find Daydreaming on Unpaved Streets, and you can get your copy. And you can connect with me on social media. I am present there.
Yes,
My name is my
very.
name. You can connect with me there. Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, there you have it, everyone. Molina Jeune Pierre. And I'm excited for you to really get her book and make sure you read it. That's one thing I see people do. We buy books, but we don't read them. But
Yeah.
it's really important that we read
Read the
what
book.
we're buying. If you're investing in something
Mhm.
in a book, make sure you actually take the knowledge and
Yeah.
use it and apply it as you see
Absolutely.
fit. So, Molina, I want to thank you for being a part, and thank you for sharing your story with us and letting us know about your book.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem.